I still can't get over that.
Jerry Brown going after Bill Clinton. It is, as Mark Elkin said, one of the most effective campaign ads of the season.
Yes.
Bill Clinton going after Jerry Brown for raising taxes.
It is time now for our political roundtable. We have Tommy Sowers, a Green Beret, Iraq War veteran, and former West Point professor who is focusing his campaign now for Congress on the war in Afghanistan. We're going to discuss that in just a moment. Also with us, combat veteran Wes Moore, author of The Other Wes Moore. Good to have you back.
It's great to see you. Thank
you. All right, so Tommy, man, you didn't pick a good time to run as a Democrat, did you?
Yeah, except he's got good cred.
You got great street cred, but it's tough out there for Democrats, isn't it?
Well, I tell you, I think it's the best year possible for a guy straight out of the military without a lot of political experience to be running for Congress. Throughout the 8th Congressional District, everything I hear is the demand for new blood, and it's very party neutral. I was at a Patriot rally about 36 hours ago, and a guy came up to me and said, "You're that guy running for Congress?" I said, "Yes, I am." He's like, "Now, you're not the incumbent, are you?" I said, "No, I'm not." "Well, that's good. You've got my vote."
That was the first question.
Well,
oh, boy.
We've been talking about Afghanistan all morning. Should America get out of Afghanistan?
Yes, we should. I mean, part of my campaign is ending the war in Afghanistan, and it's because what they teach in the military are the principles of war, and you just discussed it. The objective is one of the first principles they teach you.
That's what they teach at West Point.
Well,
right away.
Yeah, they teach that to you, and when you look at our objective there right now, it is to train up the Afghan military and police so that one day we can high-five them and leave. The problem, of course, is a question that Congress has been derelict in not asking, is who will pay for that military once we leave? The Afghans can't, America won't forever, and our allies won't. So training up 400,000 to 600,000 Afghan tribesmen that will one day be looking for a paycheck is not in our nation's long-term strategic interest.
Wes, it looks like it doesn't look like we have a good strategy out of there.
Well, I think, and actually Tommy brings up a great point about Afghanistan. I think, this war is very personal for us, and there's no one who wants it to end more than us. I just think we also need to be careful and cautious about how we do it and understand not only just where we were in Afghanistan, where we are, but also what the ramifications of Afghanistan are, and of not actually coming up with a complete redeployment strategy that makes sense.
Well, but how long do we stay? Another 5 years? We've already been there for a decade.
No, I agree, and we have been there for a decade. But to be quite honest, this has not been a real priority, really, until about 18 months ago. Up until that point, I remember when I was in Afghanistan in 2005 and 2006, we had well under 20,000 troops on the ground in Afghanistan, and that's for a landmass that is 50% larger than Iraq was. So Afghanistan has not really been as large a priority as it needed to be. However, the challenges of Afghanistan and being able to understand how those challenges manifest themselves are very real. Issues of corruption, issues of the insurgency. So those have to be wrestled with as we're thinking about long-term strategies.
Mike, but Americans seem to want us to stay the course, want us to win that war. Americans always want to win wars, and yet they don't seem to be overly focused on what's going on there.
Well, I mean, that gets to, who's fighting this war. Less than 1% of the population is fighting this war. We've talked about this endlessly. There's something horribly inequitable and just wrong about the fact that we are engaged in 2 wars still. And if you're wearing a uniform overseas in a place like Iraq, we're still at war. You're still a target. And you can go whole days, weeks at a stretch, without encountering anyone who is serving. And the people here who are serving, the families of the men and women serving in Afghanistan and Iraq, are just bearing a non-sustainable burden.
They seem isolated.
Our society.
Tommy, is it time for a draft?
Well, I disagree, Mike, at least in my district. In my district, there's 70,000 veterans in my district. And when I am doing a town hall and I ask how many of you are veterans or related to somebody that's currently serving, almost the entire room raises the hand. So, this is why Afghanistan, at least from my district, it matters in 2010. It matters on a fiscal perspective. When we're spending $400 a gallon for every gallon of gas we put into a Humvee in Kabul, people are worried about that. When we're building infrastructure halfway around the world, when we should be building it right here at home, people want that to end. So it's a very personal, I agree with you, Wes, but for my district, they want us investing back in home.
Practical.
Wes, should we look at the possibility of a draft? Would that stop members of Congress from so
Certainly
eagerly
would
sending
make them
young men and
invest.
women off to war?
Well, I don't think we should look at a possibility of a draft. I am actually in favor of a larger idea of a national service and having more people understand what service to this country means. But I don't think a draft would necessarily be useful also for the military, on the military perspective. But I do think it is a larger challenge. Mike brings up a good point of having people understand what's at stake and having a larger conversation about Afghanistan. I mean, really up until what happened with General McChrystal and until a Rolling Stone article with Lady Gaga on the cover, asked the country to think about Afghanistan again, we went months without hearing a word about Afghanistan. And that is a fundamental problem with how we're thinking about this long-term strategy.
No doubt.
Here.
All right, Wes, thank you so much. Congratulations on the success of your book.
Thank
it's
you
just
so
doing
much.
great.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Appreciate your coming
Good
in.
luck, Tommy.
Can the U.S. lead again in the auto industry? Senator Carl Levin next on Morning Joe.